Uncle, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mr. X TV. All right, Assalamu
good.
alaikum, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all. And of course, it's back to where we are on Sundays. Mr. X, especially, welcome to him back. We welcome him back because
Thank you, Uncle.
he's back from holidays. And of course, I saw one of the comments last Sunday that asking Mr. X TV, when will you do the live recording? All right, then from today, again, you will start getting your live recordings as well. So enjoy them. And one of the comments in one of Mr. X TV's YouTubes I saw, the comment was that it concerns us Muslims. And as I'm a Muslim, I like to talk about it. Somebody made a comment in one of the videos, and the comment was, no Muslims in the West, no problems in the West. Now, this is, I don't actually believe in this. This is a wrong comment. This is not right. Because, yes, there are Muslims in the West, millions of Muslims in different countries. In the United Kingdom, we have millions of Muslims. In France, we have millions of Muslims. In Germany, we have millions of Muslims. In Bosnia, Herzegovina, Albania, Kosovo, millions of Muslims. In Italy, I mean, in nearly every country in the West, in Western Europe, we are talking about Western Europe, yes, there are millions of Muslims, and this thing that no Muslims in the West, no problems in the West. No, that is completely wrong. For example, somebody recently in Norway, Norway is also one of the Western countries in Western Europe, Scandinavian country, Norway with the capital Oslo. Recently there was a demonstration there, and during the demonstration, somebody burned copies of the Holy Quran, which is a book of the Muslims. Now, I mean, this wasn't done by Muslims, it was done by non-Muslims, burning the Quran. What does that get? I mean, it's not right. Because you burn the Quran is in the hearts of Muslims. There are millions of Muslims who know the Quran by heart without even opening the Quran. But as we are all human beings, whether we are from the left wing, we are from the right wing, whether we are Muslims, whether we are Buddhists, whether we are Christians, whether we are Jewish, you know, we are all human beings. So it's about, I've said this before as well. I'm not trying to repeat myself, but because of the comment made, I am talking about that. So we are all human beings. So we have to be humane to each other. We have to listen to each other. We have to respect each other. And as far as burning of books, here I talked about, you know, this is Western Europe. Norway is in Western Europe. Is a European country. Majority, at least on paper, it says they are Christians. Now, how can you burn a copy of the Holy Quran of the Muslims? And when it was burnt in Norway itself, there are around 200,000 Muslims. Who, of course, these Muslims living in the Western Europe, which I'm talking about, so many times I mentioned. For example, I am in London. In London, we have a mayor. He's got a Muslim name, Sadiq Khan. We have ministers in the government in the United Kingdom who have Muslim names. We have members of parliament sitting in the House of Commons who are Muslim, and in France as well, in Germany as well, and in different soccer teams, football teams. There are Muslims, have been in the past, still now, Muslim footballers playing for the France team. They don't play for the Muslims, they play for France. And there are Muslim football players in the German team. There are Muslim cricket players in the England cricket team, and so on. Whether it's politics, Muslims are there. In the West, I'm particularly talking about. Whether it's sports, Muslims are there. Okay, so Muslims are everywhere. Go to hospitals, you have PhD Muslim doctors, you have MBBS Muslim doctors, you have thousands of nurses who are, I'm talking about this country, who are Muslim. So, as I said, we are all from Adam and Eve. And here I will like to quote one of the sayings of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It is a hadith, saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Prophet said, and this is one of my favorite hadith, saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Prophet said, all mankind are from Adam and Eve, from Adam and Hawa. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who was an Arab, he said, an Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, and a non-Arab has no superiority over an Arab. Our Prophet, more than 1400 years ago, he said, a white person does not have superiority over a black person, and a black person does not have superiority over a white person except through virtue, through piety. If the actions are good, good. Whether it's a white person, whether it's a black person, whether it's an Arab person, whether it's a non-Arab person. So there we are all human beings. The only thing which things like burning the Quran leads to, things which are not good. The only thing which hatred leads to is hatred. So when we start hating each other, when we start disliking each other, when we don't listen to each other, what happens? First World War. Where was that? Started in the West. And when you say no in your comments, when you say no Muslims in the West, no problems in the West. Who shot the Archduke Ferdinand? It was a Christian, not a Muslim. And who was the Archduke Ferdinand? He was a Christian, he was not a Muslim. So First World War started. Who were in the First World War? United Kingdom, France, Germany, Holland, Belgium, Italy, all these countries. Were they Muslim? And let me point it out to you. That war, Great War, also known as the Great War, First World War, recently people celebrated it. You know, they had 1 minute silence a couple of weeks ago. Millions of people were killed. And at the time of the First World War, the Muslims here, very few. And the Muslims who were brought here, they were the soldiers. For example, the British brought the Indian Army. Let me point to you, the Indian Army played a big part. I'm not just talking about the Muslim soldiers in the Indian Army. I'm talking about the Rajput Hindu soldiers. I'm talking about the Sikh soldiers from the Punjab. Hundreds of thousands of them. 1.3 million Indian soldiers, different religions, different backgrounds, yet they were brought all the way from India to the battlefields of France. And they fought. And amongst those 1.3 million Indian soldiers who fought in the First World War, around 440,000 were Muslim soldiers. So when somebody makes a comment, no Muslims in the West, no problems in the West. In the First World War, United Kingdom alone, they brought more than 440,000 Muslim soldiers from the Indian Army to fight in France. They were not brought over into Europe to fight in the battlefields because they would cause problems. No, they were here to defend democracy, righteousness. They came here, the Indian soldiers, the Muslim soldiers, the Hindu Rajput soldiers, the Sikh Punjabi soldiers of the Indian Army. They fought here for who? They fought for the British. They fought in France for the French. They fought for the Belgians. They fought for the people in Netherlands, Holland, the Italians, all these people. And you know, they sacrificed themselves. Thousands and thousands of them were killed. For what? For the Europeans, for the non-Muslims. And yet people have these sort of comments. And in the Second World War again, you had hundreds of thousands of Muslim soldiers to defend against Nazism, to defend from Adolf Hitler and his Nazis. And they fought. They sacrificed. Can you imagine those soldiers from 1914 to 1918, from the First World War, they stayed here, they fought. Maybe they might have, some of them fought for 2 years, 3 years, but for 4 years during the duration of the First World War, those Muslim Indian soldiers and the other Indian soldiers, they fought. And you know, that was a big sacrifice. Why? They had to leave their country, leave their homeland, and thousands of miles away they came into Europe. And what happened to them? Not all of them survived. Not all of them lived in the Great War, First World War. Thousands of them were killed. You see there in the cemeteries, those Muslim soldiers, those Indian soldiers, in France, in cemeteries in France, in Belgium, in this country. So was there a problem? So this person who wrote down, no Muslims in the West, no problems in the West. Those soldiers, they delayed their marriages. They left their wives. They left their parents. They left their loved ones thousands of miles away in India. Now that same India is Pakistan, India, Bangladesh. You know, thousands of miles away. They sacrificed themselves for a good cause. And what about Second World War? Again, same thing. Same thing. And now we Muslims are being very positive. Now, of course, there are a few, I would say, if they are Muslim, they are engaged in acts which are not humane. They are engaged in law breaking, maybe in one way or another. It does not represent the religion of Islam. It does not represent the majority of Muslims. Okay? So as the educated people know, as the learned people know, as the people who are educated, they know that Islam is good for the West. There are millions of Muslims here. Muslims are good for the West. We are helping you. Now, for example, me, I am British. I am Muslim. I am originally from India, Pakistan. And why we have ended up here? Because we were brought here during the First World War. We were brought here for the Second World War. And when our forefathers fought, and when my father fought in the Second World War, he was telling us when we were small that after the war, the British used to tell us, come over to Great Britain. Why? So much destruction. You needed rebuilding. So we helped you, we Muslims and the other Indians to talk about, you know. We helped you rebuild. And what about France? Do you know in France, they brought hundreds of thousands of Arab, Berber, Muslim soldiers from Morocco, from Algeria, from Tunisia. They brought those soldiers over to France to fight for France in the First World War, in the Second World War. And even in France, you have so much Islamophobia. They think the Muslims are here, that's why all the problems. So I will end there by saying that anybody who wrote that comment, that no Muslims in the West, no problems in the West, that is completely wrong. Okay, even if there were no Muslims here, you would still have problems. There will still be murder. There will still be rape. There will be still be wars, and so on and on. Not that they are good, but human beings. Some human beings, they break the law. They don't care, whatever. So there it is. Before I carry on, making a long speech, that was an introduction to today, Sunday. Everyone have a nice day. And Mr. Rex TV, as earlier I spoke, he will give you a live one today as well and in the future.
Definitely.
Have a nice day, everyone.
Thanks, Uncle.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, Uncle.
Welcome.
Big up, Junior.
Big up, Mr. Rex. Cheese.
How are you? I've seen you before as well. Eh?
Big up, Rashman.